All right, this is where it all begins, everyone. The first appearance of Doctor Doom. This episode is going to be a lore, pivotal, and first video just because, well, this is where so many aspects of what Doom is begins. Now, while Fantastic Four issue 5 and 6 are not officially framed as a two-parter, I'm splitting this first episode into two parts so I can treat the pairs of issues as kind of one singular introduction to Doom altogether. The Fantastic Four issues used here are found in a text that I will be referencing a few times. It's called Doctor Doom, the Book of Doom. It's an omnibus that was released in August of 2022, which is a 1,000 plus page document that collects a tremendous number of Doctor Doom stories, including his appearances in the Astonishing Tales series from the 1970s. All right, so right away, the cover does a lot of heavy lifting in telling you quite a bit about Doom and how he operates. It shows three of the Fantastic Four, Reed, Johnny, and Ben, locked up and being tortured by Doom, who appears before them on a monitor. He's orchestrating whatever his scheme is from a distance rather than actually fighting the Four directly. We can also see Sue Storm, her hands tied behind her, over in the corner trying to get help. This cover establishes basically the whole plot of the comic. This was a style that was much more reminiscent of how covers kind of worked back in the 1960s. So what you also need to know is the publication date for this issue is July 1st, 1962. So right away on the very first page of this first issue, we have a lot to examine. Here are some of the unique aspects of Doom lore that we can actually begin to cover. Number 1, demons. Doom's ties to demonology is evident in the text to Doom's right, so our left on the cover. Further pages are going to go into more detail about Doom's hobbies with sorcery, but I appreciate that they show it so explicitly right away in the first page of his first appearance. Number 2, Science and Sorcery. Similarly to how there's the text literally spelling out that Doom is an occultist, the second book on this page shows that Doom is not a traditionalist in terms of magic. He engages in the spaces where magic and sorcery actually intersect. Number 3, chess. This is a fun theme for Doom, one that tends to be a kind of this useful visual shorthand to show how smart he is. Also, it kind of helps because it shows he prefers to manipulate people and play with them as pieces, kind of like in his ongoing schemes. I just like that he has these little models made for each of the Fantastic Four. Like, he painted them and gave them little faces. Truly a master of detail. It is also important to address the power of Jack Kirby's art in this image. His use of green for Doom's robes, the design of Doom's mask, which was actually used kind of earlier in another comic, sort of like as a proto-Doom kind of thing. Also, Doom's use of the chess pieces. This, everything that is a part of the art that Kirby actually made for this sequence, just this one image, I guess I should say, really helps set what Doom's iconic identity is. So the comic issue begins with a typical day in the lives of the Fantastic Four, with Johnny and Ben antagonizing one another. I'm not positive about if this is the first metatextual joke where Johnny is reading a Hulk comic and compares Ben to that like the Hulk. It's a silly joke at best. Now, suddenly the whole Baxter building is encased in this web that is basically trapping everybody inside. Now, again, we're going to be covering a lot here, and we're only a few pages in. Doom announces that it is he who has seized the Baxter building and has trapped the Fantastic Four inside, which prompts Reed to introduce the actual next piece of very important Doom lore. So this is Doom lore piece number 4, Reed and Victor's College History version 1. All right, so this one is kind of fun to explain. Doom isn't just any villain. He actually has a passing history with Reed in that they went to the same college. Now, per my addressing this as kind of a lore version 1, you need to kind of understand that it's important to know that in this version of the story that Reed is telling, they do not have any shared history on a personal level. What you just need to know is they went to the same university. So per this version of the rendition that Reed is kind of explaining, Doom went and intermixed sorcery, and black magic, and also engaged in forbidden experiments. Now, the next piece of lore here that is important enough that it needs to be cited as its own unique kind of entry number 5 is entry number 5, Doctor Doom's interest in the Netherworld. Now, we see Doom working on a machine alongside someone who's not actually shown or identified. Doom is strapped into a machine that then, in an accident, quote, brought forth powers which even he could not control. There will be more added to this piece of lore later on, but for now, the story is just that. He was working on breaking the barriers between the two dimensions, and then his experiment goes wrong. So, the next interesting piece of Doom lore we have is Doom lore piece number 6, Doom's Face, version 1. The next few panels introduce us to the fact that Doom's face is cited as being, quote, badly disfigured. Now, while there's no context given to this, the image of Doom wrapped up in these kind of mummy-like bandages is actually a pretty iconic part of Doom's history. And this is also going to tie in with the next part of the story, which is Doom lore piece number 7, Doom's Travels. So what's happening here is Reed is explaining that after the accident, Doom travels the world, particularly where he goes is Tibet. Reed addresses that this is where Doom was still, quote, seeking the forbidden secrets of black magic and sorcery. So, in summation, this one page becomes the first, what I would call, pivotal piece of Doom content, that being what is, in essence, his entire origin story. While future comics will add to this, these first 7 firsts, these kind of bits of lore, frame the core background of Doom's character. Alright, so back to the ongoing story at hand. Doom has seized the Baxter building and then takes Sue Storm hostage while the rest of the 4 are carted away in a net to one of Doom's bases. The story then transitions to a kind of second part. So this is one where Doom has he has 3 of the Fantastic Four as hostages through Susan Storm, who is obviously not yet Susan Richards because they're not married. And he explains that he has a kind of job for them. Now, we can see in these pages also the first appearance of Doom's pet tiger, Gunther. Some might not think it needs to be addressed as an official piece of Doom lore, but it's my channel, so this is exactly what we are going to do. Doom lore piece number 8. Doom has a tiger named Gunther, although I don't believe that he is actually named here in Fantastic Four issue 5 as Gunther. Anyway, moving on. So, Doom explains how he wants the Fantastic Four to literally go back in time with a time travel device that Doom himself created to steal the treasure of the famous pirate Blackbeard. This literally introduces another genuinely interesting piece of Doom lore piece number 9, Doom's time platform. He literally has the knowledge to invent the ability to travel backwards and forwards in time. So just to cut through some of the excessive pages, we're going to see Reed, Johnny, and Ben fight with a bunch of pirates until they find the treasure that Doom wanted. Now, Reed, deciding that whatever Doom wants in the treasure, whatever's in there is kind of bad business, dumps it and then swaps the contents of the box for chains. He cites the fact that we kept our word, we're bringing back Blackbeard's treasure chest. So as a point of clarity, because I did go back and look at this, what Reed is doing is kind of being a bit of a doofus. Doom literally says he wants the treasure and that they are being sent back to, quote, obtain the legendary treasure of Blackbeard for me. He never actually says anything. He doesn't use the phraseology, bring me the chest. He literally says, bring me the treasure. Just as a point of clarity, Reed being a doofus. Gasp. News at 11. Anyway, small correction to what I had recorded. Doom actually does ask for the treasure chest. Specifically, he just does it after having specifically asked for the treasure 2 times in a row. So I still blame Reed for being an idiot, but he is technically not wrong. Alright, so now we get to the 5th part of the story where we see the iconic use of Doom's time platform descending down to bring the trio back into the present from the past, now with their fake treasure. And then the twist is kind of revealed that Doom doesn't actually want treasure because he wants gold or money. He wants the inherent magic within some of the treasure, these particular gems that's in the treasure, because they were formerly the property of Merlin, which brings us to Doom lore piece number 10, which is actually weirdly a personal favorite of mine for some stuff that comes up later in many future comics. Doom's ties with Merlin and Camelot. Now, this isn't super explicit. This doesn't come up as many times as some other things. It's just really fun. Doom has a unique history with a few of the characters from Arthurian myth, so his interest in Merlin's property is, it winds up actually being more important than you'd think, so therefore I do want to make sure to mention it here. So, like a kid at Christmas who expects a toy and gets socks, Doom finds he has been tricked when he sees there are only chains in the chest. This is where we also get a sequence where Ben uses Doom's distraction to kind of sock him one, resulting in Doom lore piece number 11, Doom bots. Doom frequently avoids his own life being in danger through a series of fabricated Dr. Doom robots that he can kind of work through. I also want to address here, just like I did for Kirby's art, that Stan Lee deserves credit for the writing of Doom. He uses these kind of funny tricks about how, Doom escapes destruction, it forms Doom's iconic kind of villainous backbone, these things that he's sort of known for. It's really gimmicky, but again, if I'm going to credit the art and it being very iconic, these things that add to Doom's lore, it does have to be credited for Stan Lee's addition to, these things that the character is known for. So Doom reveals to the Fantastic Four that he isn't even in the room. He's actually elsewhere in a room above them. And now that he has been betrayed, he intends to suck the air out of the room so that the trio will die. Now over in the corner, Sue, who's still a hostage at this point, uses her powers to become invisible to kind of aid her in sabotaging Dr. Doom's machinery while he isn't looking. And well, look, just based on the paneling here, the way that it's kind of set up, it looks like there's this horrible explosion that Doom is actually caught in because of what Sue has done. So she uses her abilities, now that Doom's kind of distracted from an explosion to the face, to go free her family. They kind of make for this quick escape. There's some shenanigans with the fort's defenses, which after which the Fantastic Four doesn't just want to leave. They actually decide they actually kind of want to take the fight to Dr. Doom. So Johnny Storm uses his fire to kind of encircle this fortress to kind of smoke Doom out. Now, the end result is, yes, Dr. Doom seems like he's temporarily trapped, but then we get to the final piece of Dr. Doom lore for this issue. Number 12, Doom prepares. He always seems to have a clever way out of whatever impossible situation it is that he is trapped or hindered by. Basically, this is a plot contrivance to allow him to escape from the story, while also making it look like he's some kind of genius who's always got an ace up his sleeve. While this issue is part of a pivotal series of Doom stories, there actually have been a large number of firsts that we can actually cite from this specific issue. So to recap, this is the first time that Jack Kirby has drawn Dr. Doom. It is the first time that Stan Lee has written Dr. Doom. It is Dr. Doom's first appearance. This is the very first scuffle between Doom and the Fantastic Four. This is the first reference to the first kind of iteration of Reed and Doom's actual history together. This is the first reference to Dr. Doom's implied disfigurement. This is the first reference to Doom's time platform. This is also the first appearance of a Doom bot. So that concludes the wrap up to this first part of episode 1. And be sure to check out the conclusion that's going to be kind of in part 2. This is the one where we actually see Dr. Doom, such as it is, kind of make a friend. Anyway, that's it. Thank you and have a good day.